The funny part is, like, when I started out, like, I thought of myself as a webcomic artist, and that was what I was trying to break into. And I was going into webcomic spaces and trying to like share my stuff and like, hey, look what I got going. And nobody cared because the webcomic space, that was all just artists who wanted to write like their stories or whatever. None of them watched sports. They were all artists. Like none of them cared about sports. I was the only one there who cared about sports. None of them knew what I was making fun of. None of them knew anything. But all my stuff started getting retweeted and shared by sports bloggers and writers and analysts on Twitter. I was like, oh, I'm not a webcomic artist. I'm a sports blogger who blogs using comics. That's what I actually am. And that's kind of what I've been since.
And that's a great way to sort of segue into what we're talking about today, because this is part of our fandom study series. This is also our annual Super Bowl special. But I think, especially for people who are not sports fans themselves, there is this idea of sports fandom as being something different than Star Trek fandom or Pokemon fandom or whatever, of the other many fandoms exist. And I think even for the NFL, that fandom is much more similar. I think there's sort of still like the idea of this like jocks versus nerds thing. And I'm a huge nerd and I love football. Um, so I want to talk about fandom as it specifically relates to the NFL. And I think we're seeing sports fandom evolve in a lot of interesting ways through the internet. I think a lot of that old. I think of like Revenge of the Nerds. I think that sort of divide is breaking down.
I do agree with that. I think that divide is breaking down. But I'm glad you sort of brought it up that people have traditionally put these fandoms of like Star Trek or whatever and sports fandom in separate groups. Because the older I get, the more you realize, oh, it's all fandom is the same thing.
Hmm.
It's all the same thing. Like what you're obsessed with might be different, but everyone, it's all the same thing. You've got the people who are really passionate and friendly and welcoming and wonderful, and you got the jerk gatekeepers who are just awful to anyone who thinks slightly different from them. And it doesn't matter if it's a sports team or like an a Star Trek show or like an anime or a video game. It all fandoms are basically the same clusters of people. It's just whatever they're angry about or focused on is a different thing.
You just heard a clip from the most recent episode of the History on Film podcast. For more of this episode and access to all our episodes, search for the History on Film podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Don't forget to like and subscribe the channel here on YouTube. Thanks for listening.